Welcome to Tekedia Daily. I'm Ndubuisi, Ekekwe. Our conversation today will focus on understanding the three classes of technology companies. I have basically classified technology companies into three, and the element of these is actually to help us to understand how we can develop growth and profitability models based on the specific classification of a company. And I'll take you first into the components of how businesses and how companies actually operate and compete against one another. You know, if you open up a typical technology hard business, if you go into any technology business, there are different things that you must see. And these are what I call components. In other words, these are things that actually make up any technology company. It begins from the hardware, which is the physical element that you can see. There are companies that are playing at this level. And from that hardware, what we call the firmware. The firmware is essentially one of the closest elements that make it possible for the operating system to actually talk to the hardware. So imagine a scenario before when you have a laptop. For you to install the operating system in that laptop, there needs to be a software that will make it possible for that operating system to actually talk to that hardware. Otherwise, there is no way the microprocessor can actually understand that you want to install a Linux or you want to install a Unix or you want to install a Windows in that laptop. So that firmware is just one of those components that make it possible for that to happen. There are companies that are playing at that level. And then you have the companies that are operating at the operating level, which were very familiar, like companies like Microsoft that plays at the level of Windows. Windows is an operating system. Then on top of these operating systems, we have what we call application software. Now you have your Microsoft Word, you have your Microsoft Excel, and then on top you have services and solutions. And across these services and solutions, there are a lot of pricing strategies that actually make them what they are. Then companies build solutions upon them. So what happens here is this, that there are companies that are operating at the level of the operating system. There are companies that are operating at the level of the application software. There are some that are just focusing on hardware. You can talk of companies like Intel, Qualcomm, Nvidia, and some that are, when companies operate at this level, largely they also operate at this level. And of course, there are companies that just focus on services. You want to make a movie, you want to make a great music, and you just want to go online and post it. And that means that what is happening here that you are playing are just building on top of the applications in order for you to actually create value in the market. So by manipulating, by changing, by redesigning each of these components, the basis of competition can be changed. In other words, there used to be a time when people used to type. Then a time came when what they call Microsoft Word became an application system, software that people bought them. And then quickly what happened was Microsoft was able to change the basis of competition. And that is how the evolutionary process of innovation starts in different industrial sectors. So I'm using these components to now classify, to have three types of technology businesses. I call the first one closed businesses. They're just like Apple. So here Apple is working at the level of hardware by making it proprietary. In other words, he doesn't share his hardware with any other person. So what he does is that he makes proprietary hardware, which is extremely differentiated. And then everything like software, operating system, and Safari's browser, everything now runs on it. So what Apple has done here, it has used hardware to differentiate itself. And it has a very good, great stuff happening there because it makes it possible for Apple to command good margin and profit because it doesn't necessarily care about other platforms. Of course, it doesn't mean that the Safari cannot run on Windows. It doesn't mean that Safari cannot run, but that is not the core business of Apple. The core business of Apple, we're talking about iOS, and that is where you have the iPhone, the iPad, and or even the Apple Watch. So these solutions are structured and designed to run on this proprietary hardware, and Apple makes a lot of money doing that. Then you have what I call the open companies. It's like Facebook. There is nothing proprietary, except, of course, that he is delivering services and solutions, which are now where it is trying to make money. So the solutions are designed to run in any hardware, any software. So it can run on Windows, it can run on Android, it can run on iOS, any platform. Because the competitive strategy is that it has to address any type of market across all platforms and any type of user for it to actually have the capacity to actually make profit in the market. So it has to have scale. It's horizontally distributed. It's horizontal integration. This one is the closed one is vertical integration. This one horizontal integration because it wants to have as many people as possible in the system, and that is also how it enjoys the network effect because when there are so many people in that ecosystem, it becomes more exciting for every person to actually participate in that particular ecosystem. Then you now have what we call the hybrid. In the hybrid, you have something like Microsoft. Microsoft doesn't have any hardware, but Microsoft has a clear operating system that it runs. But of course, Microsoft also does other things. So at the end of the day, at some elements, Microsoft is a little close, and Microface is also a little open. So now when you do this thing, it's actually going to affect how a specific company can actually generate growth and how that company can actually make money. Because when you are a closed tech company, it means that you have to actually attain to be the best possible product you can make because you are not necessarily pursuing a lot of people. You are not looking at horizontal integration. You don't just want to have any kind of guy in your ecosystem. So for you to do that, you're focusing on making the best and commanding the maximum possible profit possible, and then you are ending up going to serve the least. Essentially, you're going to serve a limited number of people. But when you are an open system, you are not talking about you need scale because you need that scale for you to actually have the capacity to make money. So you are going to operate at that construct where your transaction cost has to be extremely low or even having a zero marginal cost. Because when you have a zero marginal cost, it means that you can deliver services at practically, let me say, at zero value. At zero cost. And that means that your scalable advantage is extremely high because it doesn't cost you much for you to actually add new users. So, but there is something good about this. As you are going through this process of delivering scale, making it possible for many people to join into your ecosystem, you are going to have what they call the network effect. And that network effect means that as more people come in, the services become more interesting and fascinatingly good because you have more data to improve it. As you improve it, more people are coming in. So that means that you can actually attain the position of being the best within the particular category that you are playing. Of course, you have the hybrid. Most times people forget about them because in closed, they are not good. In open, they are not the best. So they are just in between these two constructs. And it has implication because if you're operating a closed model and you want to generate profitability using the model for open, you're going to have a lot of difficulty. So the key thing here as a startup, as a business, is to actually define at what particular class you are. And that is what is going to drive how you are going to create value through growth and through profitability. If Facebook says today, I want the Facebook app to run only Android, that is terribly a bad strategy because Facebook is a business that can only survive by scale. And it has to be agnostic of platform. So because it doesn't own any proprietary software, it doesn't own any proprietary hardware, so it doesn't have the capacity to say, I want this to run only on this, I want this to run only on this. Only Apple can do that. And companies like Google can actually be part of the open ecosystem. So when you are building your business strategy, I challenge you to think critically. Where are you operating? What are the components that are going to help you for you to grow and actually become profitable? It's very, very unlikely that you can build a business for the closed model and you are driving your growth and profitability using the open model. When you do that, most times bad things happen because you cannot necessarily stay focused and you get into a kind of a conflation. So I want to say this is what it takes, and it's high time you define where you belong. You are listening to Tekedia Daily.